Hi, thanks for joining us. Tonight will be the first in a series of interviews sponsored by the Responsible Parents for Wilson School Board. We're going to start tonight with an introduction of one of our newer candidates, Brian Lockhart. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
I'm well, thanks.
So you're new. Your name wasn't on the signs the last time through. Would you mind taking a couple minutes and kind of introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure thing. I live in Sinking Spring. Been here for 4 years now. I have been married for 11 years. My wife, Gabi. We have 2 boys, 6 and 2, or 2.5, as he says. They are very active. Jack just broke his foot, so he's in a cast, and it's hard to tell a toddler to stop moving.
Yes.
So that's been my last week. And I am an interventional pain doctor. I work at Reading Hospital. I moved here for job purposes. I was in Central Pennsylvania, never really on my radar, but I was at a job in Baltimore. It was not working out. Interviewed here, loved it, and I've been here ever since.
Well, that's great. Welcome to the area.
Thank you. Don't plan on leaving.
That's good. That's good. You're going to be here for at least a little while.
I would love to finish out my career here. Moving, I really don't have any intent on doing so.
Well, that's great. That's great. So that being said, newer to the area, planning on living here a long time, what made you decide to run for school board?
Also, not on my radar. However, I went to a school board meeting when my kid was about to enter kindergarten, and it was just one of those, maybe I should go to one of these, my kid's entering school. And it was weird. It was not what I expected. Let me just put it that way. What was odd was I felt an attitude of dismissiveness to people making comments and asking questions. Even the format was really weird to me. There was no dialogue. It was just, you got up to the front, you got 2 minutes, and then you sat down, and there was never an explanation. And it was just, there's no dialogue, which I don't know what the norm is, but that just seemed very weird. Anyway, I kind of looked into things when there was a school board election coming up, and I found this group of candidates and ended up supporting them. I really wasn't intending to run. This was back when they were write-in candidates, but met them, got to know them. And the next time around, I, again, had not planned on running, but unfortunately, Cindy passed away, and they needed someone to fill in the slot that they had won in the primaries, and that just kind of ended up being me. So here I am.
Well,
I'm not a particularly political person. I've never been involved before. I'm not polished. I'm socially awkward. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of confrontation. Like, I'm not looking forward to the election. The primary was messy. You had a current school board member showing up at a poll screaming at one of the candidates that I was supporting at the time. But I do believe in what they stand for. The opposition says stay the course. It seems like things are kind of heading in the wrong direction, and here I am.
Well, and maybe with the way everything's has been going, maybe somebody who's not quite as polished and doesn't want to follow the exact way we've always done things is a good way to look at some stuff. Maybe time to change things up a little bit. So, what do you think are some of the top issues that are concerning to you?
The scores going down is a big thing. I know they say stay the course, but it's tough to say stay the course when your scores are going down.
Now, are you talking about the public school report where Wilson was in the bottom 50%?
Yes. And I know the quick comeback that I heard during the primary was, it was due to COVID. Well, and I would say, well, we're talking about percentiles, so everybody else did too, yet we're falling.
Yes.
So again, I just think it's tough to stay the course when your scores are dropping.
Like the course isn't going the way you want it to go.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Some other things.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would like to see dialogue. The meetings were just weird, and it just really rubbed me the wrong way. If I make a policy decision, or if I'm going to make a policy decision, I think there should be at least some back and forth, as opposed to thank you for your comment and then you sit down. And there's no explanation. And I'm not even saying like, these are even things that I agree with. Like, I don't think they're evil. And I agree with a lot of what they've done. It's not like I just think that they're all bad people and everything. It's just that just explain a little bit more some of the rationale behind things.
I've heard a lot of parents say that not only do they not feel heard, they also don't feel listened to.
Yes.
They're like we all learn in life, no matter what you do, whether it's raising children, questions are some of the greatest ways to teach and to learn. And a lot of times I feel similar to you, that if there could be some back and forth, maybe some understanding can come out that hasn't been there because everybody's too busy screaming at each other.
Yeah. Or compromise. That's another.
Yes.
Because I mean, regardless of who's in power, our country is pretty split. So I think if we compromise a little bit more, there'd be like just a lot less anger.
Especially when all of those people have chosen in the entire world to live in this same small region. That's something major that we do have in common, and maybe, finding some other things to compromise on.
Yeah,
is a great idea.
we do live in a very politically diverse area.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the things that ways that you would implement those dialogues? Would you do, or would you be interested considering like parents groups or open like town hall type meetings?
Yeah, that would be the big one. Would be to change the format of the school board meetings. There's just no dialogue.
I think there's a lot of people out there that would be open to trying that for a little while, see how it goes, see how the feedback works, and see if the voters and the people that are living in the districts would enjoy that the same way I think they would. I agree. So you had talked a little bit about Wilson, the public school report with Wilson being in the bottom 50%. It's kind of weird because, my two older daughters went to Wilson for their entire life. And in my brain, I've always been like, oh, Wilson, they're the best for education. You want to get the best education for your kids.
Why we moved.
That's where you move. That's
why we moved to the area. That's when we moved here. Yeah, that was a big point of it.
And like most things in life, when you think things are going one way and you realize they're not, you can do one of two things. You can stay down the same path you've been going on and expect the same results, which I don't know anybody that their goal would be the bottom 50%, or make some changes. How would you work with the with the other administrators and the teachers to try to improve what's going on at the schools as far as the public education, the school, the grades, that report?
Yeah, I'd listen. I would listen. I'd ask questions and I'd listen. One of note, I did teach for a year in between college and med school. Again, while that does not qualify me to be an expert in all things education, I did go through the trenches as a teacher. So I have walked a mile in their shoes, as they say. And I mean, again, one thing I distinctly remember was we had actually two times. One was we had an idea to improve something, two ideas to improve things as teachers at the school. One we were listened to and the change was implemented. The other we were not listened to and the change was not implemented. And I remember how it felt. And I would, so I think a big thing is, again, just listening to people.
So in other words, not telling the teachers how to teach, but let them do their job and give them the freedoms to do what they think they should do in the classrooms under the guidelines that are set. But
yeah,
letting
I
the
think
teachers teach.
the policies should be in place to support the teachers. And I've been there. I remember when there was a discipline issue, I followed exactly how it was supposed to go, and I was not supported by the administration. And to the extent to which this happens there, to be honest, I'm ignorant about. I don't know the ins and outs, but I do remember not being supported. But then again, there were times I do remember being supported and how that felt and how empowering it was. But yes, teachers should be allowed to teach. I've seen a lot of the large unions and organizations push political agendas, sort of using teachers as political pawns. Not a fan of that. Yeah.
I agree with you there. So one of the things that some of the opposition has talked about is that they support having biological boys playing in girls' sports. What do you think about that? Where are you at on that?
I am opposed to biological males playing on women's sports. This should not be extrapolated to any other viewpoint. This is very narrowly focused on this, mainly because it's almost satirical, the idea of it, and in fact 15 years ago it was. Like there are movies, there are shows with this ginormous male weightlifter destroying female competition, and there has been Title IX for a reason. I don't know. The law has probably been tweaked, but how it was initially intended was for females to have their own sports. And we've seen biological males who were relatively mediocre in their sport dominate in women's sports. And I mean, this isn't me. You remember when Serena Williams played? And she said this. Sorry, that's on a.
Oh, that's okay.
thing.
Are you talking about the interview where they asked her about if she could beat Andy Roddick, and she laughed and said she'd lose in like 8 minutes or something hilarious like that?
She said, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. No, it's true. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster and they serve harder. They hit harder. It's just a different game. I love to play women's tennis. I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. And this is not to take away anything from her just unrivaled career.
Phenomenal.
It's
absolutely
just,
phenomenal.
I'm taking her at her word about how she feels about
and just for the
biological
record,
males playing in women's sports.
She'd beat me 6-0, 6-0 in less than 5 minutes. So you can take my word for that one. She was awesome, but
absolutely.
But where she comes from on that makes a lot of sense.
And it honestly, it doesn't take even long to look at the women's sports, particularly track and field. Women's sports records in Pennsylvania tend to not even place in the current boy, and these are records that have been 30 years held, wouldn't even medal. And I just it's not fair for biological males to play. Actually, let me. It's not fair to the other girls for biological males to play in girls' sports. Now, because what will be brought up is, well, what do you do with the male? And to that, I think we come together and again we dialogue about how to include them. I think that people should be included. It's just not in that way.
Right. I can appreciate that. So one of the things is there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of unhappiness about everything, supposedly. So is there anything going on at the school district right now that you're happy about and you're proud of and that you would like to continue to improve upon?
From my experience so far with my kids, I would say
kindergarten?
I would say teachers, and not just my son's was at Green Valley. He'll be at Green Valley again. The teachers were all phenomenal, and again, this goes. I think the main thing I want to do is support teachers. There are teacher shortages all over the place. I think we need to be supporting the teachers, making benefits competitive. I don't want to be losing good people. I think it's a great place. I think there are a lot of great people. Again, it's just the direction that I was concerned about and am concerned about.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about? This is your little introduction to all the fans. Is there anything, and the other people too, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to let them know, or anything you want to put out there for everybody?
I think the one bigger ticket item that has been brought up is the equity policy.
Okay.
I've read it numerous times. That policy gives me a lot of concern. There are, it gets sneaked in with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm all for diversity. I'm all for inclusion. But they sneak in this equity thing, which is nuanced. Admittedly, it's nuanced. If you look up even supposed kind of authorities on the topic, you'll get a little bit of a different nuanced definition. But globally, the how I am defining it. So if you have it defined differently, we can talk about it. But or we can have a different discussion based on a different definition. But mainly what I've seen is comparing outcomes and a drive for obtaining equal outcomes across different groups of people. And the main issue with it is that we've seen it attempted now, because it's been it's been in vogue now for a little bit, and they actually the results aren't promising. And actually, a good word there, because in fact recently the I Promise school out in Akron.
That's the LeBron James school, right?
It was basically this was supposed to be founded on equity principles, and the results are not good. The scores have not improved. It's just not going well. And again, that's part of this broad equity policy, is at least in writing at Wilson. And it politicizes things, and with a touchy political topic, and I think you run the risk of forcing staff to be, as I said before, kind of political pawns in this. And B, if you're staying the course, I wouldn't want to stay the course on a policy that we've seen not work.
I hear a theme coming from it, Brian.
Yes.
When things are working, keep doing it. When they're not working, let's sit, let's have a conversation, let's work together and figure it out. Got my vote, man.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you taking the time. Most importantly, I understand there's a lot of time in the way from the family to do this, and this is a big commitment, and I appreciate you taking your time to do this and to try to help. So if there's, in conclusion, I think, thank you. Thank you is the best thing I can say. I appreciate you doing this. Your wife and your kids, I appreciate them
I'll pass it along.
permitting you to do this.
I'll force my wife to watch this.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Last time I tried to do this, she laughed uncontrollably at me trying to explain a medical thing on a. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, so thank you again for Brian to come out and do this, and thanks for the responsible parents for the Wilson School Board to sponsor this event, and keep an eye out for the next interview. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.